Are we live? Yay, we're live. Awesome. So same as before, you gotta watch on YouTube. Click the link in to view live. Sweet. All right, so we'll just make sure everybody understands that we're watching in YouTube. And are we recording? Camera 2? Awesome. How exciting. Okay, we're going to get started really soon. So like before, we're going to be in YouTube to watch the video, but then come back over to the website if there's any questions. I thought I had this fixed. Turns out it's not fixed. So hopefully by the next time we do this, fingers crossed, we'll be able to watch it all on the website like it used to be. But for now, we're in YouTube, which is great. And I'm just going to check to make sure that it's working in YouTube because that probably would be something good. But you guys can hop on over to the chat maybe and let me know if you can see and hear me. I'm just going to check. And yep, okay, I can see myself in YouTube. Fantastic. So I think you guys should be able to see that as well. Great. Audio is great as well. Awesome. Thank you so much. Thank you for letting me know. Fabulous. So we're going to get started. If you're new to the live cooking classes, then you can know that the video is going to be in YouTube. The comments are going to be on my website. Type them in. I will be monitoring the chat box this whole time, and I will get to all of your questions. There's already a great question in there. I see it. I'm going to wait till we chop romaine lettuce to talk about how and what kind of lettuce to buy. If it should be organic or whatnot. You can also know that you can pause the YouTube video at any time. If you've got to go to the washroom, someone knocks on your door, you can pause and then just resume when you come back, and you won't miss anything. And the last thing you should know is there's a bit of a delay between the video and the chat. So the chat will come through faster than the video. So you guys will be a little bit delayed hearing me. Awesome. So if you guys are ready, I will get started. Hello, everybody. My name is Jessie Lane Lee, and I am a holistic nutritionist, cookbook author, and cooking class instructor. I'm also the founder of JessieLaneWellness.com, where you're watching this awesome video. I am so excited to be here tonight to show you how to make my dairy-free chicken Caesar salad. This is one of my favorite recipes because I love Caesar salads, but the dressing is so bad for you. It's full of calories and full of fat, tons of stuff, tons of sodium. So I wanted to create my own Caesar salad dressing recipe, which we're going to be making later today. And we're also going to be adding chickpea croutons instead of bread. So this one is gluten-free. And I'm going to be putting some chicken on top as well. If you're vegan, leave out the chicken. It'll still be delicious and pretty filling because there's a ton of chickpeas that we're going to throw on top. So to get started, the first thing you're going to want to do is preheat your oven to 400. Now, hopefully you did this before we started. If not, do it now. You can throw your chickpeas in when I throw them in, but they probably will take a little bit longer to cook. But that's okay. So I like to cook my chickpeas. I just have a regular baking pan here, and I like to use parchment paper. So I'm going to take some of that out. It's loud parchment paper. And I like to do that because I find when I use parchment paper, it doesn't stick as much. When it's right on the tray, you have to do dishes. I don't like doing dishes. And also with something like aluminum, usually it sticks. And Silpat's another thing that works really well. So I just got some parchment paper here, and then I have 2 cups of chickpeas. Now you can use canned chickpeas, you can use homemade chickpeas, whatever you want. You just need 2 cups. The one thing I will say is that the cooking time will vary based on what kind of chickpeas you're using and how wet they are. So mine are actually pretty wet, so it's probably going to take a little bit longer to crisp them. If they're a little bit drier, then they crisp a lot faster. And that's why the cooking time on the chickpeas is 25 to 40 minutes. It's a big, big difference. So when you're buying chickpeas, again, doesn't matter. You can do canned, you can do fresh, and then cook them yourself. You just need 2 cups of cooked chickpeas. And if you're buying them in a can, make sure you do rinse them beforehand because the canned water that they're sitting in could have BPA, it could have extra sodium, stuff like that. The cool thing about chickpeas is that they are a really great source of fiber. So while I talk, I'm adding in 3 tablespoons of coconut oil. although I'm just kind of going to pour it because that's how I roll. So chickpeas are a really good source of fiber, and they have a really cool type of insoluble fiber that doesn't get digested until it hits the intestines. And when it gets the intestines, it does this really neat thing where it helps metabolize the bacteria in there, which then produces short-chain fatty acids. And these short-chain fatty acids actually help nourish the cells in the intestine. So chickpeas are so good for digestion. Also, they're really high in fiber, which is always great for digestion as well. So now I'm going to add some garlic powder. How much am I adding? I am adding quarter teaspoon. Again, I'm just going to eyeball it because that's what I like to do. But quarter teaspoon if you're measuring. And then lastly, I'm going to add salt. And this is about 1 teaspoon. So I'm just doing this right here on the tray. It's a lot easier this way. And then I'm just going to mix it up with a spatula and make sure everything's evenly coated in the salt, garlic powder, and the coconut oil. Oops. So with chickpeas, we talked about their high fiber content. And when you add the high fiber content with the high protein content, they're really satiating and filling. So if you're not adding chicken, this is still a really filling meal because you're getting that protein, you're getting that fiber, which is really great. And chickpeas also have the fiber in them and some other elements that help regulate blood sugar levels. So really great for people who struggle with diabetes and just blood sugar imbalance in general. So mine are nice and mixed here. You can kind of see they're all going to start rolling towards you. I'm just going to throw them in the oven and set a timer. So oven, 400 Fahrenheit. If yours isn't ready yet, that's fine. You can throw them in early, or you can wait until it beeps and just don't eat your salad right after. You can wait till these are done. So I'm going to throw them in. Whew, that's hot. I'm going to set my timer for, what should I do, 20 minutes? And then we'll give them a check. And no, I'm going to go 25 minutes. That's usually what it goes, start. And then every now and then, whenever I come back over here, I'm just going to give them a little stir to make sure that they're cooking evenly. So I don't need this anymore. I'll move this out of our way. A little stack here. Okay, so the next thing we are going to do is we are going to cook our chicken. So if you follow a vegan, vegetarian diet, you can take a little break, tune out for a bit. But I like to throw chicken on it just to give it a little bit extra staying power. My husband and I are going to eat this for dinner tonight. This is going to be our full dinner. Really filling. So for this recipe, I really like to, what's it called? Brain fart. I like to poach my chicken because I find the recipe so flavorful that I don't need that kind of grilled chicken flavor. But if you love grilled chicken, then go ahead, grill it. You can just pan fry it, you can bake it. Really, you can cook it however you like. But to poach it, what I like to do is I'll take the chicken. I hate touching raw chicken. Ugh. And I'll put it right on the frying pan. Yuck, I'm gonna throw this in the garbage. Oop, I disappeared. That was just my tray. And then I'm gonna fill it with water. So first I'll wash my hands though because we don't wanna get salmonella. So with this chicken, I always highly recommend buying organic chicken if you're able to. And there's 3 reasons. The first reason is because organic chickens are fed closer or exactly what chickens actually like to eat. So when you see chickens pecking around and eating stuff off the ground, they're happy chickens. When you see them eating genetically modified corn and soy products, not so happy chickens. They also have a better lifestyle. With the organic ones, they do get to roam around in the pasture. They're not confined to small spaces. And then finally, and for me, it's the most important one, is the antibiotic and hormones. So with organic chickens, they are not allowed to inject them. If an organic chicken gets sick, then he can no longer be sold as organic because they end up giving him antibiotics so he doesn't die. And with regular chickens, they give them antibiotics as a preventative measure because they're living in such closed spaces and terrible conditions that they're likely to get sick. And those antibiotics that get injected into the chicken stay there when you eat it. So I strongly recommend going organic for that reason. Or if budget is an issue, then just go, there's some that are hormone-free, antibiotic-free, so you can try that out as well. So, oh yeah, so I just filled the pan so that the chicken's, I can't really lift it up, halfway covered with water. And then I'm just gonna put it on the burner here and turn it to high and bring it to a boil. And once it's boiling, I'll reduce it to a simmer, and in 15 minutes, I'll give it a flip. So I'm gonna set another timer because once I get talking, I get excited and I always forget. So I'm gonna set this for, no, that's wrong. Cancel. I'm gonna set this for 7 minutes because that's when I know I need to flip it. 7, start. That worked, perfect. So if you're cooking exactly along with me, you don't need to set a timer because I've done it for you. So in 7 minutes, I'm just gonna give that chicken a flip and then cook it for another 8 minutes. Now it'll take a while for it to boil, so we might cook it a little bit longer, but we'll check to make sure it's fully cooked inside because nobody wants to be eating raw chicken. Am I right? So the next thing we're gonna do is make the dressing. So I have all the ingredients over here. Carefully bringing them over. So this is kind of a hurry up and wait recipe. You're gonna be able to prepare mostly everything, and then we'll have a nice Q&A session, and we'll chill for a bit, and then the chickpeas will be ready, and then we'll eat, because they are really the ones that take the longest. The chicken is only like 15 minutes, but the chickpeas can be up to 40 minutes, so they are pretty slow. So to make our dressing, we need apple cider vinegar. Love it. Such a good thing. You need tahini. I realized I'm out. I don't have any tahini. So instead, I am using, what do I have here? Nut. What do I have? No, it's not nut. Sesame seed butter. It is so, oh no, sunflower seed butter. It is so good. So you can use that if you want a nut-free version. Tahini is what I recommend. If you don't have it, any nut butter will taste good. Peanut butter, probably not, because I think it'll just be a little bit too peanutty, which would be like a little bit weird. My secret ingredient, capers, delicious. We'll talk about those as I put them in. Dijon mustard, always nice to have, gives it that kind of Caesar flavor. We also here have some garlic, love garlic, and avocado. So avocado is going to be the only source of fat in this recipe, which is so cool. So it's essentially oil-free, right? We're not adding any oil. We're just using avocado, which is really good. And we'll talk about those health benefits while we put it in. So I am going to start off by mincing my garlic clove. And I'm going to do this on here so that we can let it sit. And so what I'm doing is I just put it on my cutting board, and then I put my fist down, and then I smush it. And I find this does a really good job of kind of releasing the clove from the skin so that you don't have to work at peeling it. When I cut it, I also like to cut off the end because it's a little bit tough. I don't know if you have to do that, but I always do. So I'll just take a little piece here and cut it off. So that little bit we won't be using. And then I'm just going to give it a fine mince. Now it is going in a food processor, so you don't have to do it overly fine. But what I want to do is I want to cut it up. Oh, my chicken's starting to get boiling. I'm going to turn this down a bit. So check your chicken. So you want to cut it up because when you cut it up and give it a couple minutes to sit in the air, a really cool thing happens. What happens is the allicin in the garlic turns into allicin. And allicin is where you get all of the awesome health benefits in garlic. But you got to let it sit about 5 minutes for that to happen. So I strongly recommend doing that. And that's why I'm kind of going to do this by hand, just so that it can make contact with the air, with the oxygen, and start to make that conversion. And I absolutely adore garlic. Probably one of my favorite, I call it a spice. I don't know if it's really a spice, but you know, it's a spice or whatever. One of my favorite ones because it has antibacterial, antimicrobial, antiviral properties. So it's really great for cold and flu season, and I mean, I guess that can go all year round depending on where you are. So really, really great for that time of year and just really boosting the immune system. Okay, so I'm just gonna make a nice little pile here and just put it to the side. Very careful. And I just minced that really, really easy. I'm gonna rinse my hands because they're a little bit sticky. Another really cool thing with iron is it helps with, with garlic, is that it helps with iron metabolism. Isn't that neat? So if you're someone who has a hard time Getting enough iron in your diet, adding garlic to your diet will help to make sure that your body and your cells get that iron. Because what it does is it helps the cells that have the iron release the iron so you can use it, which is really important. And then finally, it has anti-inflammatory properties. Don't we all love anti-inflammatory things? Yes, I do. Okay, so now I'm using a blender to do the rest of it. If you're not using a blender, you're going to want to cut the garlic really fine, and the avocado may be a slight challenge for you. So I recommend having some sort of blender instrument. Immersion blender would work well. I'm using a Magic Bullet because I find it's really easy to clean, very convenient. Really just whatever you have on hand. So into this, I am going to put, where am I? Tahini, 2 tablespoons. Again, I forgot tahini. I don't have any, but I'm going to use the sesame seed butter instead. So 2 tablespoons. I'm actually going to eyeball it a bit because if I take this little guy and stick it in here, my hand's going to get absolutely covered. So I'm just going to do 2 really big scoops, and it looks like that might be the end of my sesame butter or sunflower seed butter. I keep on saying that wrong. If you've never had sunflower seed butter, oh my goodness, it is so good. It is kind of addictive. I absolutely love it. I'm going to scrape every last little bit out of this jar. And a cool thing that I like to do when I have jars that are like empty, but like, see how there's still like a lot of good stuff in there? You can make overnight oats in these jars, so don't throw them away. And then your oats will like dissolve all of the delicious nut butter into them. It's so good. So that might have been a little bit more than 2 tablespoons, but it'll be fine. So this is done. Whoops. And I will put this aside. We don't need this anymore. Checking on chicken. I'm at 45 seconds. So I'm actually going to give my chicken a flip. It is simmering really nicely. The bottom is starting to look white, but we still have lots of pink on top, and that's why we're going to flip it. So I'm using tongs here just to give it a little flip. The nice thing about using water, oh, I splashed myself. That didn't feel good. The nice thing about using water here is that it's not going to stick to the bottom. So whether you're using a cast iron pan, a regular pan, whatever you have, you don't have to worry about stickiness. I have these like eco non-stick pans. I can add a link to them below afterwards if you're interested. They work, I'll say, decently well. And that is for the chicken. So I'm going to set that timer again. I'm going to go 8 minutes this time so we get to a full 15. Oh, I just used my microwave back then. Timer. Start. There we go. Beautiful. So that's going for 8 more minutes. And the chickpeas, I have 14 minutes left. So I'm going to actually peek in here now and see how they're looking. Give them a bit of a stir. Oh, they smell good. So I can see they're starting to crisp up a little bit here. I don't know if you can see this. I'm worried that if I tip it too far, it'll pour all over the floor. So they're kind of starting to crisp up, especially the ones on the edge. And that's why it's good to stir them. Otherwise, you kind of get burnt ones on the edge, and it's not ideal. So just giving these a quick little stir. Smush them around on here. And I'm going to throw them back in. Hot, hot oven. All right. So back to our dressing. We've added the tahini, 2 tablespoons. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to add apple cider vinegar. Love apple cider vinegar. It's so great because it's a fermented vinegar, so it has a lot of health benefits. So I'm adding 3 tablespoons. I'm going to measure it this time because with liquids, if you don't measure, you can end up pouring like triple and it'll be way too sour. So if you're someone who suffers from heartburn, taking like a shot of apple cider vinegar and water mixed together can be really helpful for you. Highly recommend it. It works well. All right, so that was the apple cider vinegar. Put this over here. The next thing we're going to add is the lemon juice. So it says 1 tablespoon, I believe. Yeah. Oh, sorry, I forgot to mention this is on page 9 and 10 of the Healthy Eating on a Budget guide. So we're on page 10 right now if you're looking for the recipe. I'm so sorry, I forgot to mention that. So with the lemon, I say 1 tablespoon. So that's about like a quarter. So I have my lemon. I already had half a lemon in the fridge. So if you have a full one, go ahead and cut in half. Oh, great. Someone's asking, is this for 2 servings? How long will the dressing keep? That's a fantastic question. So this dressing should be enough to do the whole salad, which is pretty big. So I usually say like 2 to 4 servings. But the dressing will last in the fridge at least, I would say, like 5 days. 4 probably really good. Day 5 might start getting a little bit weird, only because we're adding avocado. If it was oil-based, you could go much longer. But since there's avocado in there, I would say like in 5 days, you probably want to eat it. But you know what? If you don't finish it all in the salad, it makes a really nice veggie dip. So you can use it for like carrots, celery, cucumber, tomato, peppers. It's a great dip. So now I'm going to try anyways to squeeze half of this lemon in here. So I get 1/4 of a lemon. That's about 1 tablespoon of juice. Great. And then for the rest of it, gotta love lemon water. Just put it in my water. Does anybody here drink lemon water in the morning? Such a great way to wake up. I absolutely adore it. So refreshing. Jump starts the digestive system. Really nice in the morning. I'm gonna take a sip. Cheers. Oh, my chicken's cooking really nicely over there. Great. So next thing that goes in here is lemon juice, water. 3 tablespoons of water. Now this will change again because you want this to be a good consistency. So we'll start with 3 tablespoons. If it's not enough, we can always add more. And this actually happened. I made this recipe on breakfast television. And when you're doing TV, there's just not a lot of time and it needed more water, but we didn't have time to give it more water. And when the host took it and dumped it into the bowl, it came out as one big plop and it was pretty funny. All right, so after water, we are adding Dijon mustard. Yum, I love it. This calls for 1 teaspoon. I'm gonna eyeball it, just like a little scoop, not very much. There you go. Throw that in. And after the Dijon, we need some pepper and some capers. So I'm gonna eyeball the pepper, but you need, I didn't even write down. I don't know what the recipe says. I usually do like a couple spins. And I find it's nice. And then I kind of like to add the cracked black pepper on top at the end too, just because it looks good and it's kind of nice to do that. And then capers. So capers are such a cool addition to this because normally Caesar salad has anchovies. Personally, I'm not a huge fan of anchovies, so that's why I like adding the capers because they add kind of this like brininess to the salad. Really, really good. So mine are pretty much gone. So I'm actually gonna like just try to dump out the rest of this liquid and catch whatever capers are left in here. But you want about 1.5 tablespoons. So I only had 1 left. That's fine. But I would say if you have a fresh bottle, 1.5 is what you're aiming for. And if you've never used capers, they're kind of like olive-y. Like I find they're like olives, but like smaller and more like salty, briny kind of taste. I like them. All right, now we're on to our last ingredient, avocado. Love it. So I'm just gonna cut it. I cut it around, I'll move this so you can see, around the edge. And then I just twist it open and cross my fingers and it's gonna look good. Oh, it looks good, how exciting. So you only need half. So the part with the pit, I'm actually gonna save that because if the pit's in it, for some reason, it won't brown as fast. Don't ask me what the science is behind that. I have absolutely no idea. But if you leave the pit in, it'll stay green for longer. Same with like if you make guacamole, save the pit, throw it in the leftover guac, and then cover it. It'll stay green for longer. I don't know why. So with my avocado, I like to peel it. And the reason I do this is because when you scoop it out, you lose a lot of the stuff. A lot of the avocado around the edge is super dark green. And if you don't peel it, you lose out on that. And what that dark green color is phytonutrients that are so, so important for your health. They have lots of antioxidant properties, so help fighting cancer, anti-inflammatory. I mean, the list just goes on. So it peels really, really nicely. And I'm just gonna wipe my hands off of it because I got avocado on my hands, inevitably. So I love using avocado in this recipe because it's a really good source of healthy fats. It is a medium chain triglyceride. So that means that it doesn't actually get stored as fat because it's really easy for the body to take it apart and to use it as energy. So we have a great question here. Someone's asking, how do you choose an avocado? So when you want to make sure it's ripe, you want to like squeeze it a bit and you want it to be soft but not totally mushy. And then to make sure it hasn't gone bad inside, is usually, I've already taken it off, but usually there's like that little belly button where the stem came in. If you flick that off and take a look, if it's brown, then you've got a brown avocado. If it's green, then you've got a great, perfect avocado that hopefully will look as pretty as mine does. So that's how I like to shop for avocados. And there's tricks online for if it's not ripe and you want to use it, that you can ripen it really quickly. But I don't know what they are. But I know there is some tricks. They might include a microwave, and I don't use my microwave for food. I use it for storage. So now I'm just going to dice up this avocado just so it blends really nice and smooth into my dressing because I don't want chunks. And then I'm just going to pour it in with all of the other ingredients. And then I'm going to add my garlic as well. So just taking this here. Ooh. Probably shouldn't have done that with 2 fingers. Now I'm losing tons of garlic. Oh well. Right, so we've got our garlic. We've got all the ingredients. I'm going to rinse my garlic fingers off, and then we're just going to blend it. So, so easy. And I've got a timer going off. What's this one for? The chicken. All right. So I'm going to test the chicken on the small cutting board here. So if you think your chicken's ready and you want to test it, you can test along with me. I'm going to leave one in there, but I'll take one and put it on this tiny cutting board. And you can see when you poach it this way, it's all white. So it doesn't actually get any color, which personally I like in a Caesar salad. Some people like it when it gets some color on it too. All right, so now I'm going to rinse these off because I just realized that these were touching raw chicken at one point. I'm a little bit of a paranoid person when it comes to salmonella. So I'm just going to give these a quick little rinse. There we go. Grab my hand off. And I'm just going to cut it in half and see what we've got here. So we're looking for completely white the whole way through. If there's any pink, then our chicken's not cooked. So my chicken has a little bit of pink. So you can let me know if yours does too. And that means I'm going to put it back in. And I actually might flip it again. And I'm going to put it back in for, I think maybe another 5 minutes just to make sure that we're really cooking it through. And you know what? The reason it's still pink, I think, is because I've kind of lost my simmer here. So I'm going to turn my heat back up. My chickpeas are done in 5 minutes, so I'm not going to set a timer this time. But while I'm over here, I'll give them a little check and a stir. What have we got? They are getting there, so you can grab your chickpeas, smush them around a bit. Mine are looking good. Not golden yet, but they're definitely starting to dry out, and they smell so good. So I'll throw this back in. And my chicken, I've turned the heat to like medium high, so it's boiling enthusiastically now, whereas before it was a very gentle simmer. So I think that's why it wasn't cooked through. So we'll let that sit there, and we will do our dressing. So I've got all the ingredients here, putting on the lid, and I'm going to blend. So let's see what we've got. Inevitably, sometimes I shake it first because the sunflower seed butter or tahini that you guys used might get stuck at the end. So let's blend it and see what we've got. All right. Okay, so it looks like mine is pretty thick today. I'm just going to give it a, yeah, so you can kind of see here it's a little bit thick. I'm just going to give it a taste. Oh my God, it tastes great though. So I'm going to add 2 more tablespoons of water just to loosen up so we can make sure that it's spreadable. But this is the perfect consistency right now for a dip. So if you wanted to use this as a dip, stop now. Oh my gosh, and it's such a good dip. The tanginess from the lemon and the apple cider vinegar and like the capers, so good. Let's blend that up again. Man, this one's really thick. Sometimes the thickness can depend on how dry your tahini is. My sunflower butter was pretty dry. So this is still pretty thick. Still tastes really good. I'm gonna add 2 more tablespoons because my sunflower seed butter was really dry. Usually that happens when you get to the bottom of the jar, all the oil is gone, right? If you're near the top, then probably you will not need all of this extra water. All right, so let's do that again. There we go. All right, let's see what we're working with here. So we don't want it to be super runny. We want it to be like Pourable. Yeah, so mine's good now. So you can see it still stays, but it's really smooth. Oh my God, I could just do this the whole time. It's so good. Sorry, I will stop. But anyways, now you have it. So we'll put that aside. And our chicken's getting there. Mine is getting cooked very quickly now. The last thing we're gonna do is we're gonna get our greens ready. So I did 2 heads of lettuce here, but I'm using romaine hearts, so they're a lot smaller. If you have a full head of romaine lettuce, then you may only need 1. And so someone asked earlier, I'm gonna scroll back up because I know you're asking about, Joan was asking, what did she say? Joanne. She says, right, so she's asking about if we should always buy organic lettuce. And if you wash it thoroughly, is that enough? That is a really great question because usually when we go organic, it does tend to get a bit more expensive. Yes, I do recommend buying organic lettuce whenever you can because lettuce is part of the dirty dozen. So what that means is it's one of the most sprayed vegetables and it absorbs those pesticides. Mainly because lettuce doesn't have like a peel or anything to protect it. It's just sitting out there on the ground with bugs crawling all over it, eating it. So that's why they spray it so much. So I do strongly recommend going organic if you're able to. However, there's a lot of farmers that follow organic practices but aren't certified organic because the certification process is long and costly. So if you're shopping locally, you can talk to the farmers at the market and see what they say. If you are buying conventional, that's okay too. I strongly recommend doing organic meat over organic vegetables if you have to pick and choose. And so what you would want to do, there's a couple ways to clean it. The problem is with lettuce, you can't scrub it. So you can't really do much, but you can soak it in water with a little bit of apple cider vinegar and that will help, but it might change the texture of the leaves a little bit. So that's the only problem with lettuce is that it's really hard. If you're looking at something like an apple, for instance, I mean, you can really scrub an apple, right? Not the same way you can scrub lettuce, obviously. So I'm just dicing this here. I like to dice it pretty thin, and then I'm going to cut it in half as well. I'm just going to move this to the side. Yeah, so I actually have in my cookbook Healthy Fresh Salads, which I think you have. There's a whole section there about how to wash fruits and vegetables if you're not buying organic. All right, so this is our timer for crispy chickpeas. They are at their 25-minute mark. I'm going to take them out and see what we're working with and decide if we need to keep them in a little bit longer. So this is what I have here. See if you can see that. They are getting there, but I'm going to try one. It's going to be really hot. Whew. The outer shell is crispy, but the inside is still soft. Surprisingly, I didn't burn myself. I don't know how. So I'm going to put them in for another 10 minutes. And I will set my timer here. Perfect. And I'm going to check on this chicken again. So mine was just a little bit pink on the inside last time. I'm going to use the other side of the cutting board. Take the other breast that I haven't looked at yet and just cut it in half and see what we're working with. Let's see. Yeah, this is beautiful. Yeah, my chicken is perfectly cooked. Looks delicious. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to move it over here to a plate. Yeah. And take this one off the burner and just let it cool a bit because it's really hot to try to cut right now. Oof. Move that off the heat. And because I'm paranoid, I'm going to cut the other one just to make sure that it looks good. Yeah, definitely. So you're just looking for it to be completely white the whole way through. Really important. Mine is looking good. Yeah. The nice thing about doing it this way is that when you're doing it a poach, it doesn't dry out, which is really good. So I'm switching knives. I should have done this before because I did cut that chicken with it. And I'm just going to cut this all in half. Although now I'm thinking since I cut the other chicken with it, I may not actually use this lettuce. What do you think, Chris? Should I use this lettuce? Unknown. Okay, we'll put it to the side. Give that to Blue. Maybe or maybe not, because I did cut the chicken with it and then use the same knife, but it wasn't totally raw. Either way, I'm just going to use one for now because I'm a little bit paranoid. I'm sure it's probably fine. And I'm just cutting, again, my romaine lettuce. And I love using romaine lettuce. I mean, this is a Caesar salad, so we're using romaine. But I like to use it over other lettuces because it actually has a lot more health benefits. So if you look at the nutrient profile, romaine lettuce has 10 times more vitamin A than regular lettuce. That's a big difference, right? 10 times. And vitamin A is really important for eye health. It's something that, it's similar like you hear about it in carrots that help you see in the dark. It's going to help with that. It's going to help make sure that your eyes stay nice and healthy, prevent things like cataracts and other eye issues that are quite common. So I really like it for that as well. On top of that, it has a lot of vitamin K, which is actually really important for bone health. It's kind of a vitamin that gets overlooked, but it has some great, great health properties. So I love romaine lettuce. I use it in a lot of my recipes. So we have the lettuce here, nice and cut into bite-sized pieces. If it's feeling big, you can just go through it and rip a couple of them off just to make sure that you're not gonna have like a big thing hanging out of your mouth. So the next step is to cut our chicken. So I just have it sitting here. It's pretty hot, so I'm gonna use tongs to hold it so I don't burn my fingers. Ideally, if we had more time, I would let the chicken sit or cool completely, just so it's not so hot. I don't wanna wilt my lettuce, but we don't, so I'm just gonna cut it up. So I like to cut it up into small kind of bite-sized squares. Now, of course, you can't always control the size depending on where like the veins are and the little cuts, but I like to aim for like a crouton size. So something like this is my like ideal chicken size. It's so juicy. I love chicken. It tastes so nice and juicy when you cook it this way. I don't like the look of that one. So I'm just cutting it up now. If you're not using chicken, don't worry about it. You're still going to be really full because all of those chickpeas have lots and lots of fiber, and they're just so great for that. And it could be a meal. It would be a light meal without the chicken for sure. I wouldn't say it would be like a full, super filling meal. All right. So as I'm cutting away, and you are too, if any questions pop up, feel free, hop on over to the chat and let me know what you're wondering about. If you're watching the recording of this, you can still ask questions. I am here for you. Just send me an email at info@jessielainewellness.com and I will get back to you for sure. Yum, I love chicken. Chicken is also a really good source of lean protein. It's not as high in fat as other meats, which makes it really great for people who are, you know, watching what they eat and just making sure that they're not getting too many calories every day. So chicken is really great for that. It's kind of awkward cutting it with tongs. I am not gonna lie, but I think it's too hot to use my fingers right now. So that's why I'm doing it. I'm almost done. How are you guys doing? Cutting coming good? Cutting coming along? Delicious. It's so juicy. I don't know about yours, but mine is so juicy. I'm so excited. It's gonna be so good. Yummy. I love it. So a really cool story about chicken, well, we cut, is I actually used to have chickens. So growing up, my dad lived on a farm, and for a while we had our own chickens, but they were like the laying kind. So we didn't actually eat them, but we ate their eggs, and it was so fun because we would get up in the morning, go into the chicken coop, and it was like an Easter egg hunt to see who had laid an egg. And his chickens would just roam all over the farm. They would go missing every now and then because they weren't properly restrained, but they were just the happiest chickens. And the yolk of these chickens' eggs was like bright orange. It was crazy because they were just eating so well, and they were able to walk around and just eat whatever they wanted off the ground, and then they were fed every night, and they were really happy chickens. And the dog got along with them, which is really cool. Our dog didn't try to eat them, which we thought might happen. Yay, someone saying this is gonna be my favorite. Yeah, this recipe is so delicious. It's definitely one of my favorites too. So now that we have the romaine lettuce and chicken, I'm gonna start adding the dressing. So you can see the texture of it while I pour. It's nice and thick because usually Caesar salad dressing is nice and rich and thick, but it is not fatty. So I should have a spoon, but I don't have one available. You can scoop out all the extra bits because this dressing is, oh my gosh, so good. I'm gonna grab some tongs and give it a toss. Now, personally, I like to toss it before I put on the croutons because I like my croutons to stay really crispy. However, my husband likes it when the croutons sit in there for a little bit and start absorbing flavors. So it's a personal choice. Oh my gosh, but it looks and smells so good. Mine is extra saucy because I didn't use that second head of romaine because I was a little bit scared of it. Oh, it looks so good. I can't wait to dig in. I am so hungry. So I'm also going to add some nutritional yeast. This is my Parmesan cheese substitute. If you've never used it before, it's absolutely delicious. It gives everything a cheesy flavor, but it's vegan, and it also has some great B vitamins in there as well. I adore it. Oh, it smells so good. I use a lot of nutritional yeast in my cooking because it is absolutely delicious. And as I mentioned before, I like to put some fresh cracked pepper on top. And then the last thing we're just waiting for is the crispy chickpeas. So while we wait for them, I'm going to take a little peek, see how they're doing. Actually, they're getting there. They're getting there. I'm at 1:30, so almost done. I'm going to try one. Oh. Really close. I'm not going to lie, that one burnt my tongue a little bit. But while we wait for those chickpeas, I'll tell you a little bit about my cookbook. So this recipe is from my cookbook, Healthy Fresh Salads. I love this cookbook. It is so delicious. And I created it because I am a salad fiend. I love, love, love salads. I actually worked as an engineer for 7 years, and every single day I brought a salad for lunch. So I worked out to 1,700 salads. Of course, I repeated them quite a bit. But what I did was I took the best of all those salads and put them in one place in this cookbook. I also got recipes from other holistic nutritionists, so you can kind of see the variety there. It's not all my recipes, which makes it really good, really interesting. The beginning part has lots of information. I talked about how you can clean your fruits and vegetables. I talk about shopping at farmers markets. You can get really good deals. It has this really cool ultimate guide to making a salad, so you can make your own really healthy, really filling salad. I love that. I've gotten some great feedback from that. And then it just has tons of recipes. Like, look at these recipes. Delicious, creative, interesting salad recipes that you won't get bored of. They're not your regular lettuce from a bag type salads. They're really interesting and so, so delicious. So those are my chickpeas. I'm going to stop that timer. I'm just going to let them go a little bit longer until I'm done chatting with you because I think they could crisp up a tiny bit more. So if you haven't already, then head on over to jessielanewellness.com/healthy-fresh-salads, and that's where you can find my cookbook. The digital version is $7.99, and you can get the beautiful paperback version that I have here for $16 US on Amazon.com and .ca. It just recently was put up on .ca, which I'm super excited about. So if you're in Canada, you can get it on .ca. And it's just filled with really delicious recipes. And I have salad dressings in there as well, so you can start building your own salads. And it's just, I love it. Oh, here's this salad. Yum, this is what we're making. So it's from this book. We have a question here. Can you do a bunch of chickpeas for snacks and store them? Yes. Oh my gosh. Roasted chickpeas make the absolute best snack. They're fiber, they're protein, they're filling, they're crunchy, they're salty. Absolutely amazing idea. I love having them for snacks, but definitely make sure you cool them completely before putting them in the airtight container, because if you have them and they're still moist, then they'll start to kind of get mushy. Same goes for the salad. What I recommend is if you're not eating this whole thing for dinner tonight, take what you need on your plate, put your chickpeas on top, and then let the rest cool. Store them in the container on the counter. If you put them in the salad, they'll get mushy. If you put them in the fridge, they'll get mushy. And they'll stay crispy for like 2 to 3 days, so it's pretty good. Once the salad is dressed, I would say you want to eat it within a day or two, mostly because with romaine lettuce, it's going to get soggy if it sits for too long. Yeah. All right, so I'm going to check on these chickpeas, and I think we're just about ready to eat. Yeah, mine are looking really good. They've got this delicious golden color. Very excited about them. So I'm just going to sprinkle them on top. Oh my gosh, I adore these crispy chickpeas. They're so good. I'm going to turn my oven off so I don't burn down my house. And this is it. This is the crispy chickpea salad. See if I can lift it up for you. It's dairy-free, it can be vegan, and it can be vegetarian if you don't put the chicken in it. It is gluten-free, dairy-free, delicious. With this one, it's going to be our meal tonight. It is very, very filling, very satisfying, and not boring at all, just like all of the salads in my cookbooks. So thank you guys so much for tuning in. I've had such a fun with you guys tonight. If you have any more questions, I'll stick around for another 5 minutes. Just type them in the chat box. I'll be here for you. If not, have a fantastic night. So now I'm waiting for questions. So if you have any questions, go for it. While I wait for those questions to come in, I'm going to eat some of the salad. See what we got here. Oh my God, it's so good. The lettuce got a little bit warm because our chicken and our chickpeas were warm. Normally let them cool a bit, but in the interest of time, love it. Yay! I'm so happy you guys enjoyed it. I have a guest saying another awesome webinar. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for coming and for all of your questions and comments. I love making these really interactive. That's the fun part for me. Otherwise, I'm just cooking in the kitchen by myself. So thank you guys so much for showing up. It's so much fun. And have another bite. Yay! All right, that seems to be it for questions. Thank you guys again so much. I hope you have a wonderful evening and enjoy your crispy chickpea salad. Oh, we have a question coming in from the phone.
Lango says, can he drop by?
Yes, Lango, you can come over, but I think Milo has class, so I don't know. There is enough. All right, good night, guys.